If you think you can't get started homesteading today because you don't have the land or you don't have the money or you just don't have 8 hours a day to bake bread and can tomatoes, that is exactly what they want you to believe. Most of the rules that you see online about homesteading are completely made up. Today we are going to be busting some of the biggest homesteading myths that may be holding you back and that may be keeping you from getting started today from right where you're at. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Lindsay from Homemade Homestead. This is where we talk about realistic homesteading, not necessarily the Pinterest version, but a version nonetheless. If you're new here, I'm a mom, I work, I run a business, and I run our homestead while raising our kids. And I'm about to start homeschooling next year, so it's about to get crazy. But I am here to tell you that homesteading does not have to look like what you see online. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the myths that revolve around homesteading that I am constantly hearing about. And anytime anybody asks me about, you make videos, you talk about homesteading, why, like, I wish I could do that. The thing is, you can. And these common homestead myths that are holding you back right now are completely bogus. So let's jump in. Let's get started. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on this, and you'll get notifications for all the new videos that I post. Most of my content is here to help you. So make sure you're following along, hit that like button, and let's get started. Myth number one. Myth number one is probably the one that I hear the most often across the board. And it is that, oh, you have to have a ton of land to get started homesteading. And the truth is, you do not. You do not need the 10 acres, 20 acres, or 50 acres. You do not need excessive amounts of land to get started homesteading. While it's nice to have land, it doesn't mean you have to. You can take baby steps. Some of the best homesteaders that I have seen and that I know have like an eighth an acre of land to work with, or they are doing it out of their apartment building or their rental house, or just the small spaces that they have. Even if you have zero space, there is oftentimes there around you somewhere, there is a community garden you can get involved in. There are a million different ways to get started, and you don't even need your homesteading skills do not need to even start outside. So you don't need the outside space. You can use your kitchen space, and you can start super small. You could start growing some seedlings on a windowsill inside. You can grow herbs in pots on your patio. You can learn skills in the kitchen like canning or fermenting, or learning to dry out food, or anything that is long-term storage. You can get started today with zero land if you wanted to. In small backyard suburban areas, you can usually have bees, or sometimes you can have chickens in a neighborhood. It all depends on where you live. Look at your local rules, look at your homeowners association guidelines, look at all the different things. But very likely you can get started with something today and start small, work toward your goals, and maybe eventually one day you'll have the land and you can do everything that you want to do. But for now, learn those skills before you get the land, because if I would have known that, it would not have taken me 3.5 years to get to where I am at today on our homestead. This myth primarily exists because a lot of the content creators that you see in a lot of these gigantic homestead channels, there is nothing against them. They are great, but they have tons and tons of land to work with. They have these aesthetically pleasing garden spaces because their budgets may be completely out of reach for the normal person, which is fine. And, they've worked hard to get there, but it is not realistic for most people. So again, start small. You'll get to where you want to be eventually, and just start building those skills when you can. So myth number one, that you need tons and tons of land to get started, completely debunked. On to the next one. Myth number two, that you have to do every single thing from scratch. This is not true. Okay, if I want to order a pizza, I'm going to order a pizza. If I need a break from making dinner and my kids are hungry, chicken fingers may come out of the freezer. So it is not that everything has to be made from scratch. It would it's great. And you see all these things, you see all these channels where people are baking bread daily, they're making snacks for their kids wouldn't possibly touch a prepackaged snack. And while that's okay, that is a full-time job. Do you know how long it takes to make everything from scratch? It is almost impossible. If you have small children, you have no village supporting you, you work at all, I mean, it takes a long time. And what I will say is that with homesteading, I have learned to make things from scratch. I've learned to make a million different things from scratch, and that feeling afterward is so rewarding, and I cannot recommend it enough. And I'm not saying that I don't make things from scratch now, but it took a long time to get to where I am comfortable doing that, where I've had the time to do that, where the skills to do that too. And my main thing with all of it is just that having the skills to make it from scratch is different than making everything from scratch all the time. If I needed to make something from scratch, I can do it. That's not the problem. The problem for me with myself and our lifestyle is time. And the time to do all of those things, it's a lot. And so you absolutely do not have to do everything 100% from scratch in order to consider yourself homesteader. So I am going to say this myth is also not true. So, next myth. Myth number 3, another one that, oh, you homestead. Did you quit your job in order so you could homestead? No, you do not need to quit your job in order to homestead. It I think this myth stems from, the 1700s when you had to have an adult on the property at all times to keep the homestead running. They did not have the modern conveniences that we have today. They did not have oh, you need something, let's order it from Amazon and it'll be here in the morning. They did not have running water. They didn't always have electricity. They didn't have ways of food preservation that we do. They didn't have a freeze dryer. They didn't, there's so many different things that have changed over time. And I think a lot of people assume homesteading, you're just going back to wearing the flowy dresses and you just live off the land. And while that sounds awesome and while that sounds like so much fun, it is not realistic for 90% of the population. Most people cannot quit their job in order to homestead full time. They have to have some kind of income stream. Life is expensive, and it it is fortunate enough when someone is able to stay home, but it is not realistic for everyone. So I would not say you can still homestead while working a job. You can still carve out time in your day to focus on your homestead and still work a regular job. It can be done, but you do not have to quit your job in order to make it work. So, myth debunked. And last but not least, the myth I want to talk about is homesteading is always aesthetic and that it is not messy and all these. That is wrong. That could not be further from the truth. I would say about 90% of the time, there is nothing aesthetic about it. You are in a constant state of movement. Weeds are growing while you're cleaning your chicken coop, your weeds are growing. And while, you see on Instagram these perfectly maintained areas, perfectly maintained gardens, and perfectly maintained chicken coops, and there's not a drop of chicken poop anywhere. It's not realistic. If you have ever had chickens, they poop everywhere. Or any of the animals for that matter, any farm animals, any kind of wildlife, even your garden, it is alive. And those weeds are growing faster than anything you've ever seen. They will grow faster than any of your plants. And it is not always perfect. Weeds completely overtook my garden this year. And I just got to a point where I said, screw it. It's going to keep growing. And all my plants still kept growing with them. So it was one of those years. It was just what happened. And it's not always aesthetic. It is a lot of work. It is pretty, so it is pretty, and it's a beautiful way of life, even if it's not aesthetically pleasing at all times. If that's the best way I know how to put that. So I absolutely love everything we do on our homestead, but I will tell you right now, it is not always pretty, and that is okay. So this myth is also untrue. Here is the truth that no one says out loud. You do not need a ton of land to get started homesteading. You do not need a ton of money. You do need a little bit because this is expensive. And you do not need fancy tools to do it. You can Facebook Marketplace your way through the homestead, and that's okay. It is all about being resourceful. And you don't need to have cows or goats or pigs or huge livestock in order to consider yourself a homesteader. You can start small. You can start with bees and chickens or no animals at all. You don't even have to have animals to be a homesteader. It is, like I said before, it is all about self-sufficiency and learning to make yourselves more self-sufficient and bettering your way of life. And last but not least, you do not need to be perfect. It is not perfect in any shape or form. You need to do what works best for your family in the season that you are in. Because if you push yourself too hard, you will get burnt out. You will be over it in a matter of months or years, and you're going to get tired of it really fast. Do what fits with your lifestyle. Don't listen to any of these myths. Don't listen to people's opinions. Do it yourself. Do what makes the most sense. Watch videos like this. Watch videos, large scale, small scale. Take little tidbits out of everything and apply it to your own situation. That I've seen things in videos with hundreds of acres on a farm where I've taken those tips and applied it to my little tiny garden. But I've also done the same where I've watched somebody grow like a bag with potatoes in it, and I've taken that and applied it on a larger scale that fits my needs. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Do what works for you. I hope these myths will help you feel a little bit encouraged to move forward with your situation and a little bit less scared of all the things that people say. If this took the pressure off of you at all, let me know in the comments. I want to know if any of these myths were busted for you. And remember, you've got this. If you grow one tomato plant next year, you can call yourself a homesteader. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.